Tennessee 24, Alabama 17. This game, we did a live stream out on the YouTube channel and across Twitter X and Twitch and all sorts of places during the second half of this game. And I it was kind of instructive for me to be on there with you, talking it through, kind of expressing our emotions about this game in real time. Um, what I am left with is the fact that Bama increasingly feels like it is Jalen Milroe or bust.
Mhm.
Whatever he can do, that's what the team is gonna end up doing.
Yes.
And it's not necessarily his fault, it's just they're not effective at running the football. It seems like everything they're doing is flowing through him, and I don't
Throwing the ball at Ryan Williams, yeah.
throw the ball at Ryan Williams with 18 targets in this game.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that that plan is balanced enough to go through this schedule moving forward. It's definitely become more of a trend to see them sputter a little bit on offense than maybe what we thought 3 weeks ago. And on the Tennessee side, my thoughts on Tennessee were Nico still has a lot of growing up to do. Nico had plenty of issues in this game overthrowing guys. He needs to work on that accuracy if Tennessee wants to aspire to be a playoff team,
Yeah.
get into the playoff and win a game. But when push came to shove, in the biggest moment of the game, he hit Chris
Woo!
Brazzle on a beautiful slot fade
Full
that
dime.
the camera didn't even know how to handle a
Mhm.
pass that beautiful as Chris Brazzle reaches out, cradles it as he goes to the ground with it. And ultimately, Tennessee ends up winning this game at home. They light up the cigars 24-17. What were your thoughts on this one?
Nico looked shaken a little bit in that first half. He did not look ready to rise to that moment, and he wasn't even that far off. Like, you just got a haircut, right, Ty? I'm sure you've gotten a haircut in which you've told the person that cut your hair, like, yeah, let's do a two on the sides, and then you get that two, and you're like, I don't know if I'm a two. I think we got to go a tick back. We're gonna go to 3-4. That's where I am on the sides now. It feels like if you just adjust Nico to that 3-4, he's hitting so many balls, but he is overthrowing 30% too many open plays that you're just like, man, there's so much there. I think the difference between Tennessee and Alabama today is the fact that Josh Heupel has been there. This is a team he's built. This is a system that he's been able to make those tweaks from the twos to the threes to the fours on the side of his proverbial system, right? And it's Dylan Sampson in the second half. It's the offensive line improving over the course of this game. It's the defense getting nonstop pressure on Jalen Milroe. It's playing to a vision. It's playing to a game plan. And what Tennessee was able to do in the second half is reflective of a coach and assistant coaches who've been there. And for as many throws as I'm sure Nico and the offense would like back, as you mentioned, when it counted, he was there. When it counted, when Jalen Milroe had opportunities, the defense came up big for Tennessee. They kept the Alabama offense in front of it. They were able to break up passes. They were able to get to Jalen Milroe. And like you said, they were able to force Alabama into being so one dimensional that it's just impossible to win in that way against a defense as good as Tennessee's.
Yeah, I mean, I talk about Georgia trying to evolve its rushing game, maybe get
Yeah.
back to where they have been, achieve a little bit more balance. That balance does not exist right now for Alabama. And it's kind of incredible to see because this is another program that used to rely on that. They can't run the ball. They can't. They can't run the ball, not with any kind of consistency. And so it truly is, as Milroe goes, so does Alabama. I'm struck by how ineffective they were on third downs in this game. That's not to say that Tennessee was a whole lot better. They weren't.
Right.
But Alabama going 3 of 14 on third downs, I think speaks volumes about Tennessee defense. This was another game in which both teams were heavily penalized, but Alabama again dealing with 15 penalties for 115 penalty yards, a bunch of those coming at critical junctures within the football game. And of course, both teams in the same boat turning the ball over a bunch of times, but those 2 for, I think, Alabama ended up really coming back to bite them. So it just feels like they are not going to find that next gear. And I don't mean to write Kalen DeBoer off too soon, but clearly it feels like this is much more of a year 1 scenario for a new coach than we perhaps thought at the start of the year, just coming into the season. It's Bama.
Right.
Look at the roster. They lost guys, sure, but it's still Bama, right? Different
It's
version.
It's a different version, and it's not fair, but it's fair at the same time, right? To put Alabama in this specific context of what we've seen from them these past 15 years or whatever,
Yeah.
that we've come to expect a standard. And in any other scenario, we're talking about, I think Bama came in number 7 and Tennessee number 11. We're talking about a team that is pretty flawed on offense, all things considered, relative to performances earlier this year, and they're playing one of the best 2 or 3 defenses they'll face all year long, and they were winning in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
We're criticizing them as this is like a failed experiment. The Kalen DeBoer hire is a failed
I don't
experiment.
think it's a failed
No,
experiment,
I
but
know, but like
it
we're
feels
we're
so foreign, right?
it feels foreign, but we're talking about, oh, Alabama was so sloppy, and they're building the whole thing out of Jalen Milroe, and they can't figure out the running game and all these penalties. They were winning in the fourth quarter.
I
They
know.
had an opportunity to tie this game late. And so if you are in your era of being off of your game and not being complete and not building out your team from the inside out like you've been doing in recent years, and yet you're in a position to win a top 12 game on the road in an extraordinarily hostile environment. I know there's no consolation prizes. I know there's no moral victories, but I don't know if we should start shoveling dirt on Alabama's season, Alabama's heights that they can reach with Kalen DeBoer eventually. But you're also not wrong that the way they lost this game was not befitting of a top 10 team.
Right now, as it stands, there are count them, 2 remaining unbeatens in the SEC, and those are Texas A&M and the LSU Tigers, which is not anything anyone could have predicted, certainly not A&M. We could talk about A&M maybe a little bit later on, but you do have this mishmash of teams now within conference play that have one loss: Georgia, Tennessee, Mizzou, now Texas. Don't forget about the Vanderbilt Fighting Commodores. They're another one.
The Vanderbilt Fighting Commodores. Yep.
Another team that kind of falls into that category by virtue of what they have done so far this season. Struggled a little bit with Ball State today. That
Sure.
being what it is, it's a very, very interesting SEC season in a way that I don't know any of us predicted. We will get into that, I think, in a little bit here. But your final score again was 24-17. Again, we did the live stream during this one. There were points during it that it almost kind of felt like an SEC or a Big Ten West game with how they
Sure.
were playing defense. But kudos to Tennessee lighting up the cigars,
Huge.
giving their fans something to cheer about.